Hey guys, what's up? Cardfight here, and today I'm here with another Dimensional Robo deck profile. This is the updated Gallop build from the Trinity Dragon character booster. Thought I would get this out of the way before the new GBD010 comes out tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get right into deck profile. Not tomorrow, the day after. My bad. So let's start off with starting Vanguard. So we're running Grand Hop. Grand Hop is the card from GBD07. So I'm just going to use that. Still a very good card. Buffs your Vanguard, helps you counter charge. Pretty decent. Next, we are running. For Ray 3 is running 4 of the new Gallop. So, its skill is Burst on the Rearguard Circle. So this card's effect activates on the Rearguard Circle. Trick 3, when this card, when your Vanguard attacks, if your Vanguard's power is 30,000 or greater, then this card gets plus 4,000 power. And then if your Vanguard's power is 60,000 or greater, then this card gets extra critical. And then the second skill for this card is at the beginning of your ride phase, if your hand is 2 or less, then you can Stride without paying the cost for Stride. And then the third ability, my bad, is Countless 1. When a G unit strides on top of this card, if you can choose one of your Vanguards and give it plus 4,000 power. And if your Vanguard has the Burst ability, if that card has the Burst ability, then that card gets another 4,000 power. So you have to Countless 1 to give the 4K, but it's pretty worth it because it makes hitting those numbers easier. So yeah, you get an 8K for the Countless 1. We're still running the old Gallop, so running 4 of the old Gallop, just for the name consistency. Although it's not as important for this particular build. But what he does is, well, you guys don't know what it does because you guys probably know what it does already. We already have 2 Gallop decks previously. So he's still there. He doesn't need Counterblast for his first ride. So if you don't need that extra 8,000 power, you can ride into him first if you want, and then use ride into him afterwards. But you know, of course, you're gonna have to re-ride stuff. So that might not be the best idea, but it's always an option. Grade 2 is running 4 Grand Drifter, buffs himself and buffs your Vanguard, and then gives it a new skill. It's pretty good. It's a very consistent way of pumping your Vanguard. Of course, you have it only works when you call it, but you know, it's good, and you can also draw a card afterwards. So, Grand Drifter at 4. Next, we're running 2 Grand Sub. He's not as consistent as a way to buff your Vanguard because he needs to get buffed first, but it's free, so there's that. And there's multiple ways to buff him. One of them is to buff him with Grand Revolver. Running 3 Grand Revolvers puts a little pressure on your opponent, and it combos pretty well with the grade 4 Gallop, so yeah. And he also has Resist, so you don't have to worry about him getting popped by your opponent's cards. Next, running 2 of this new card, Grand Bray. So, skill is Burst, Generic 1, Countless 1. At the beginning of your main phase, if your Vanguard's power is 10,000 or more, then you would pay the cost. If you do, this card gets plus 4,000 power. And then if your Vanguard's power is 30,000 or more, then this card gets plus 4,000 power. Extra 4,000 power. So it gets 8K in total. So it becomes 16K. And then the second skill is Soul Blast 1. If you have a Vanguard with a burst ability, this card, you can give that card this card's power. So if you use the first ability in conjunction with this guy's skill, you can give your Vanguard plus 16K, and then this card dies. So you can give your Vanguard plus 16K, but he dies. So depends on the situation. But I like him because he wins a 16K attacker by himself, which is pretty useful sometimes. And he's an instant 8K buff to your Vanguard if you really need it. So he's there for that. I don't think running him. I was running him at 3 before, but I found him not as good at 3. He's kind of good as a niche card. So yeah, I also considered running the Enigman the new Enigman Warrior in place of him, but I don't feel like I run enough burst rear guards to justify running the Enigman. So there's that. There's my reasoning for that. But we are running the grade 1 Enigman from this set. So his Enigman Blanc, or Blanc, I think it's Enigman White. But what he does is, General 2, put his card into Soul at the beginning of your attack step. You won't pay the cost if you do counter charge 1. And then, second ability is Burst, Soul. It activates from Soul. You can put this card into Drop Zone. If your Vanguard's power is 10,000 or greater, then choose one of your opponents. Choose your Vanguard with the Burst ability, and until the end of the turn, it gets plus 4,000 power. And then if your power is 35k or greater, then you can choose when your Vanguard's, and until the end of the turn, it gets plus 4,000 power. So it's another 8k buff. So there's a lot of easy ways to buff your Vanguard. So yeah, don't have to worry about not hitting those numbers. Next, we're running 3 of the old card. I think she's a more consistent way to buff your cards than him, because it's like a one-time use kind of thing, and then after that it's gone. But you can just pop her in your back row and just keep buffing your units. So I think she's a more consistent way to power up. Of course, you do lose a unit because you don't lose any, but you do lose an extra booster because you have to rest it. But if you pop it behind your Vanguard, I think it's fine sometimes if you can hit the number already. But if you're not hitting numbers and you need a booster, then you're just probably put this on a rear guard column and buff it there. So running 3 of these. I'm considering dropping this to 2 and running him at 4, and then maybe I'll run the grade 2 Enigman to justify it, and then maybe I'll bump my Grand Revolver up to 4 if I really want to use it. But right now, I don't really think that grade 2 Enigman is super useful, since it can't retire. Well, it can retire Sentinels, but it won't. Your opponent will still have the Sentinel ability, and it can't get rid of G guards because it only get rid of grade 3 or below, I believe. So yeah, there's my reasoning if you're running why I'm not running the grade 2 Enigman. And I'm running 4 Stride Fodders just in case. If you want to ride this instead and you have this in your hand, then just show this to your opponent and grab this. So great. I'm running 4 Pro Gs to inflip your damage. This deck does use quite a bit of counter blasts. Sometimes your Strides don't really use counter blast, but your rear guards do. Well, at least your Revolver does, and then your Stride Break does, and then if he stays on the field for a long time for some reason, then he also eats up your counter blast. And then for the triggers, we're running. Whoops, I forgot to rearrange my triggers. We're running. We're running 12 crit. We're not running the new stand. I was running her before, but I feel like I wasn't sure. You get a card back, but then you're not really running enough grade 3s, in my opinion, to justify using her. So yeah, 12 crit. And I think it sort of ruins the synergy with some of your other cards, like Laurel and Gallop. So there's that. And let's move on to the G Zone. So we're running 2 of the new Laurel. Its ability is Burst, rest 4 of your rear guards. If this unit's power is 20,000 or greater, then this card gets a new ability, and that ability is when this card attack hits, you can restand this unit. And then the second ability it gains is 20. If this unit's power is 25,000 or greater, then once per turn, when this card attack doesn't hit at the end of the battle, you can stand 4 of your rear guards. So there's that. And then we're running 4 of the grade 4 Gallop. Still a very good card. Buffs your units, and gives you extra drive check. It's always nice. Running X Rogue, I think his name is. It's a pretty old card. Running one of the new cards, the new rare from the set. His ability is Burst. When this card attacks, if this unit's power is 35k or more, you can draw a card. And then if it's 40k or more, then you can choose one of your opponents. Oh, you can choose one of your rear guards and restand it. Sorry. Yeah. And then the second ability is choose a card in your face, EG zone, flip the face up, and then you can choose up to 5 of your rear guards and rest them. And then for every card rested by this card's ability, then this card gets 4,000 power. So yeah. Well, actually, you can choose one of your rear guards, and this card and that card gets plus 4,000 power. So it can get pretty big, which is pretty good. And he can also help you G flip cards for your first ride. So if you want to GB2 quicker, then you can have access to that. So yeah, X Lead is his name is X Lead. He looks pretty cool too. So not bad as a first ride. There's a lot of options for first rides. We're also running X Phoenix. So. And then we're running 2X Tigers. Late game, he becomes really good, especially if you have this thing on your field. You pump, then he gets the 60k condition fulfilled, and then there's extra crit, and then you have extra pressure from this column. And for G guards, running 2 of the ones for Fighter Collection for the 20k guard. Running 1 Dismal just to not get VMAXed. VMAX is not played super frequently in my locals, but just in case. If you have something really useful like a Grand Beret you want to protect for some reason, then you can also use this. And then running one of the new G guards, so the ability is Soul Blast 1, great, 5k or greater card. When this card's placed on a Guardian Circle, the cost you do during this battle, this card gets plus 10k shield. And if a card is put in your damage this turn, then this card also gets an extra 5k shield. So you use a 50k shield, which is quite good. Not 50k shield, 30k shield. My bad. And we're running 1 X Caribou. Just cause. This card also really helps prevent chain attacks, especially if your opponents keep poking you with their 11ks. You just buff your Vanguard by 4k, and then you put a 15k Vanguard, so it makes it harder for you to hit or get hit. My bad. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Yeah, it's a pretty fun deck. I will probably try changing the build up maybe a bit later. But I'm more excited for the stuff coming out in 2 days, so I might not have time to playtest the new builds. But this build has been working pretty solid for me overall. It doesn't do too well against rush decks, but it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, this is Kartaku, and I'll see you guys there. Bye.